According to the March 2025 sales data from Amazon US, AMD is significantly dominating the CPU market, capturing nearly 80% of all units sold. AMD's Ryzen 7 9800X3D continues to be the top-selling CPU, over 6,000 units sold in March alone, and is expected to reach 7,000 units once final numbers are tallied. Surprisingly, the budget-friendly 6-core Ryzen 5 5500 remains incredibly popular. This is, a little older, so that is kind of surprising. However, it's very cheap, or it's cheaper, and it is an option if you're building a budget system. That one selling over 3,000 units. As well, the Ryzen 7 7800X3D, again, that one's not so old as the Ryzen 5, but it is still showing very, very strong sales figures. So what has happened? Well, if you have been following what has happened to Intel, especially with the 13th and 14th gen processors, you will know why this is the case. People are not purchasing these Intel 13th and 14th gen processors because they don't want the headache of something happening. Now, Intel will replace them. You can do an RMA. However, who wants to go through that hassle? Very few. People just want to buy a processor and have it work. Now, to be fair, there are some issues with ASRock boards in particular, but other motherboard manufacturers are having problems. And from what I understand, it's a BIOS issue with the Ryzen 7 9800X3D. So please keep that in mind if you're picking up a new AMD processor. Now, Intel are still selling lots of processors, but it seems like the older ones, the Intel Core i5 12400F, for example, and the Core i7 12700K are selling better than the 13th and 14th gen processors from Intel, and the latest processors from Intel, well, the sales figures aren't too good on those from what I understand. Now, what's very compelling about the Intel, the older Intel processors, like, for example, the i7 12700K, is it has 12 cores and 24 threads, and there were apparently over 1,000 units sold. The appealing thing is the price at only $234 US. If you're budget conscious, this is a great option. Now, their newer Intel Core Ultra 200S series appears to be underperforming. Yep. With the Core Ultra 7 265K being the only model in the top sellers with just over 500 units sold. Now, while the Ryzen 9000 series CPUs, like for example the 9800X3D, are selling really well, they are outsold by the older Ryzen 5000 and 7000 series CPUs in many regions, and that's because of price. And if you're looking for a non-X3D processor from AMD, you might want to look towards the Ryzen 5 9600X. That one is a top seller, as well as the new Ryzen 9 9900X, and that is, like I said, a brand new processor, not what you would call super cheap, but it's going to probably future-proof your purchase more. So to sum all this up, AMD sold approximately 31,600 CPU units. That's around 79%, while Intel sold 7,500 units, roughly. That's around 21% on Amazon US in March. This significant sales volume allowed AMD to generate roughly $7.8 million in revenue, which is 5 times more than Intel's revenue of approximately $1.5 million for the same period. Now, is AMD a perfect CPU, especially the new ones? No, probably not. But this is a clear example of a company, Intel, stumbling with their 13th and 14th, and while a lot of people probably who would have went with Intel are no longer going with Intel, instead they're choosing AMD. Which processor do you currently have, or which processor are you thinking about getting for your next build?